April 9th. Yeah.
Hi.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get started in just a moment. We're letting everyone in right now. Trisha, if you can let me know when everyone's in.
Everyone is in right now.
Great. I'd like to welcome everyone to the April meeting of the Boston Art Commission. My name is Karen Goodfellow. I am the Director of Public Art in the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture. And in that capacity, I lead the city's public art initiatives and also act as the Director of the Boston Art Commission. Artworks proposed for City of Boston property are reviewed at public meetings of the Boston Art Commission hosted by the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture. Final decisions are made by vote by the board of the Boston Art Commission at these public meetings like tonight. The Boston Art Commission is an independent board composed of 2 ex officio and 7 appointed volunteer art and design professionals that holds public meetings through and staffed by the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture to review and vote on matters concerning the city's art collection. Meetings are generally held the second Tuesday of each month to review current public art projects cited on or proposed for City of Boston property. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, we are conducting this meeting virtually to ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Art Commission. The public may access this meeting through telephone and video conferencing. I'm joined by the Boston Art Commission staff working within the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture, Sarah Rodrigo, Public Art Project Manager, and Trisha Gilrain, Collections Manager. And I'll now hand it over to Chair Mark Pasnick and Vice Chair April Holmes, who call the meeting to order and go over some further instruction.
Great, thank you, Karen, and welcome to everybody. We have a really wonderful meeting filled with great art before us, so I'm excited for today. I'm calling this public hearing to order at 4:08 p.m. Today, the Boston Art Commission will be holding its monthly public meeting. We'll begin with the roll call of commissioners to confirm a quorum. After I state your name, commissioners, please unmute yourself and say here. Aqua Holmes.
Here.
Camilo Alvarez.
Here.
Cara Elliott Ortega.
Here.
Brian Hone.
Here.
Michael Canizzo.
Here.
Lisa Tung.
Here.
Robert Freeman.
Here.
And John Andres.
Here.
Great, so we have a quorum. We will now review the meeting minutes from the previous session of the Boston Art Commissions. Are there any comments or modifications any commissioner would like to make? I actually did send one, Patricia, to you about a motion that I didn't make. I called for a motion, so I sent you a correction on that.
Thank you, Mark.
No other comments or questions? Hearing none, do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I move that we accept the minutes, please.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Sorry, was that Bob? A second? Yep. Okay, yep. Thank you. I'll make the roll call. Aqua Holmes?
Yes.
Camilo Alvarez?
Yes.
Michael Canizzo?
Yes.
Cara Elliott Ortega?
Yes.
John Andres?
Yes.
Brian Hone?
Yes.
Lisa Tung?
Yes.
And Robert Freeman?
Yes.
Okay, so, and I'm also a yes, so the motion passes. On this slide, we'll see the agenda we will be following today. The agendas for these meetings are always posted publicly on boston.gov. We will begin with the director's report and then move into presentations for review. At the time of presentations, we will provide you with further information about how you as members of the public can participate in this conversation. So I'll pass it over to Karen Goodfellow to start her director's report.
Thank you, Mark. So we're going to just go over some administrative things. Firstly, at last month's meeting, you voted to approve the final design for the Embrace as presented by King Boston. pending the MOU and its exhibits as currently drafted are accepted, and if there are any substantial changes, that they'd return to the BAC for further review. We're awaiting a response from King Boston via the Boston Foundation in order to complete the MOU and finalize your vote, and we anticipate having a final update on the MOU for you at May's meeting. We'll go over in-process public art. First up, we have Washing. Washing is a multimedia art project created by Lily Shi in collaboration with the Asian Community Development Corporation and as part of ACDC's Creative Placemaking Initiative Anchor, which seeks to activate and secure the borders of Chinatown, which are most vulnerable to erosion. This project will showcase resident stories about the history of the I-93 and I-90 highways and its present-day impacts on residents' health, housing, and quality of life. It will culminate in an outdoor video projection in Chinatown to screen these stories in a public space. The site for Washing is 75 Newland Street. It's identified on this slide in the red circle. The projection will be viewable from a parking area without obstruction on streets or pedestrian pathways. This is a rendering showing the placement of the projections. They will take place on May 29th and 30th between 7:30 and 9:30 p.m. The audio component of this piece will consist of oral history interviews that Lily Shi and Chinatown residents conducted. They interviewed friends and family about their experience living near the highways. Interviews were also conducted with researchers and historians to provide additional context. The content of the interviews discuss a visceral embodied experience of the highways, dealing with noise, coughing, nosebleeds, how people adjust their lives to the highways, adjusting how they walk, play, open windows, and cook, and how living in this environment affects their mind and spirit. The sound component was proposed for 85 decibels, but that is out of the permitted range that allows up to 50 to 70, depending on the project, and we're working with them to stay within the permitted range. So the video component includes a video shot on iPhone by the co-creation team. They've been working with a visiting filmmaker to capture videos of our everyday lives and creating poetic relationships between the interview, audio, and film. For instance, the theme of washing runs throughout the footage of everyday gestures and performance. The performance of washing helps viewers think about labor, sanitation, and how our physical environment cares or doesn't care for us, and how we care for it in return. And we'll now show a brief sample of the videos with sound, hopefully. Oops. Sorry, let me see. There you go. On this slide, you see the technical specifications for the projections, which will be approximately the same on both surfaces. We believe this project is ready to go forward, but the artists, Lily Shi and Sungmin Kim from ACDC are here in case you have any questions or concerns. Lily and Sungmin, please also feel free to clarify if I missed anything in summarizing your project. Okay. If there's nothing to add, then we'll go forward and we'll continue to work with the artist and ACDC on this project and look forward to seeing it go forward. Okay, long-term projects. So we'll just give you some updates here. Some of these are starting to look familiar, but you can see we're making some exciting progress on them. Matthew Hintzman's artwork at the Jamaica Plain BPL Curtis Hall campus is still underway and will be completed in spring 2021. And you can see a new image of the project on the bottom right, which is exciting. He's got the bricks in there and you can see some color. In February, the commission approved Monica Bravo's preliminary design for the East Boston Police Station, and she'll be presenting her final design here this evening. And 3 other projects are currently in final design phase, including both Boston Arts Academy projects. There are 3 projects in preliminary design phase, including the DeWitt Playground project. The artist team, Marlon Forrester and Studio Luz, will be at the playground this Saturday, April 17th from 1 to 3 p.m., where they will be safely engaging with the community about their design. They're also planning a virtual community meeting on May 4th from 7 to 8 p.m. that we'll be hosting online via Zoom, and we'll share specifics on that on our website and social media. 2 projects at the Roxbury branch of the Boston Public Library are in contracting phase, and we hope to have those artists under contract and working on their preliminary designs next month. And additionally, the artist selected for the Ruggles Corridor Integrated Art Project is beginning the contracting phase. And 1 project is in the artist selection phase still, the Adams branch of the BPL, which we anticipate bringing in soon. And we'll be releasing some calls later this month, including City Hall, Plaza, the Engagement Center in Newmarket, and a project for the Ruggles Corridor, as well as a citywide mural call. We have some updates on existing art. Public Works is working closely with various city departments and external entities to coordinate the widening of Beacon Street in front of the Robert Gould Shaw and 54th Regiment Memorial in the Massachusetts State House. We have some photos to share with you here. Oops. Here you can see the location, which I'm sure is familiar to all of you. And if any of you have been there in real life, you know, it can get quite crowded on the sidewalk. This slide gives a better view of the project in relation to the memorial, which you can see on the right side of the image. The area in red on this slide is a proposed area that will be created as a pedestrian pathway. The project will create wider crosswalks and sidewalks, alleviating issues created by narrow pathways and high pedestrian traffic. The new walkways will remain in compliance with ADA access requirements. Construction is scheduled to start directly after the completion of the Shaw Memorial restoration at the end of May, and will be completed in October, pending that everything goes according to plan. Our colleague, Zach Wasmith from the Public Works Department shared all this with us, but he was unable to be here tonight, but he'd be happy to answer any questions that folks might have. And we'll move on to updates regarding Emancipation Group. In keeping with the vote that we made on June 30th, 2020, the bronze figurative elements were removed, as you know, and 2 advisory groups are formed, 1 to work with staff and community members on recontextualization and 1 on events, and this work is ongoing. I invite Commissioner Freeman and Alvarez if he would like to join to provide updates to the Commission on and those in attendance regarding the Recontextualization Advisory Group.
Thanks, Karen. This is going to be a very short presentation. We had our final meeting of the Recontextualization Advisory Group on March 24th. And I'd like to officially thank the members of that group for their time and their really thoughtful guidance. That would be Representative Byron Russian, Dr. Kimberly Pinder, Marito Rivero, Greg Gaylor, Kara Singleton, Nikki Green, Barry Gaither, and our art commissioner, Camilo Alvarez. And as I reported at our last BOC meeting, we were in communication with the city of Cotterville, Missouri, where Archer Alexander spent the last 30 years of his life. The city would like to create a memorial and would like to include our long-term loan in a long-term loan of our Emancipation Group. Our advisory group has turned over communications to the Boston Office of Arts and Culture to work out the budget, legal, and grant possibilities, etc. We hope that this is going to work. I think it's a really good fit, and a final report will be forthcoming. I don't know if anyone has any questions, or Commissioner Alvarez would like to add a few comments. Okay.
Well, I just want to say thank you to the committee for the work that you did. I know it wasn't an easy mission, and it sounds like we're in a really good place. And thank you so much for your leadership, Camilo and Bob. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we'll continue to work with Commissioner Freeman and Alvarez at the staff level to draft something to share with you all.
Okay, so I'll step in here. We're about to move on to items on the agenda for review, public testimony, and commission vote. And you'll notice at the bottom of the screen that there are instructions for a public testimony, which we will review now. Mark, do you want to go over that?
Sure. The next slide. Here is how you can participate in today's meeting. During the meeting, please keep yourself muted. If you have technical difficulties during the meeting, you can ask questions in the chat and a member of staff will help you. After presentations and commissioners clarifying questions, Aqua and I may invite public testimony. If you would like to participate, you can press the raise your hand icon and staff will put you in a digital line for comment. You can also let staff know that you have a question in the chat. If you are calling in, press *9 to raise your hand. Remember, please keep your comments on topic and brief.
So next slide. Our goal is to make this meeting a great experience for all so that community members will feel comfortable sharing their feedback and their questions. So please be mindful of and respectful of everyone's time when speaking so that other participants will also feel comfortable adding their comments. If you need to, you can submit longer written testimony to bac@boston.gov. Now, while you may disagree with other attendees' testimony, please don't interrupt them during their allotted time, and please keep questions and comments project specific. If you were called upon, for the sake of all in attendance, please state your name, title, if applicable, program, and organization. And we just ask that we keep everything very kind and calm and friendly during our comments. Karen?
Great. So just very quickly, we have a few presentations for review for everyone here. So you are reminded of the order that we'll be seeing things today. We'll be briefly going over some designs and artist selection for the elevator lobbies at City Hall. And I'll be joined by our colleague, John Crowley, for that. We'll then go over Nancy and the Passage of Time relocation, and that is by Rick Lee. And we have some folks joining us for that. And then we have Monica Bravo's Unis Mundus at the East Boston Police Station. And finally, we have the Edward O. Gordin African American Veterans Memorial by Karen Udemy and Fern Cunningham Terry at the Gordin Memorial Park in Roxbury.
Great. So I'd like to invite John Crowley to talk about the elevator lobby murals in City Hall. Those of you who can remember being in City Hall, remember the delightful murals that are on each floor. John?
Hello, everyone. I'm John Crowley. I'm the curator and exhibitions coordinator at City Hall. This is the second time around for this, the murals being posted at City Hall, and these will be printed and put on boards and then attached to the walls. We originally just sent examples of artist work. These are, a few of these are final design proposals. And this artist, Destiny Palmer, this is her final design proposal for her floor. This is Maya Erdely's final proposal for her floor. And this one's new. There may be a conflict of interest with one of the murals. And this is sort of a backup, but it's a beautiful piece of artwork also. This is by Lily G and Crystal B. Wagner. It's a mural they did in Chinatown. And it would just be the idea of photographing the mural and bringing it to City Hall. This is not the final design proposal. Lily wanted to update the design, I believe, and we'll get back to you for that final proposal for design.
Awesome, John. Thank you so much for that. The commission will have the opportunity now to ask any questions or make any comments. And after the commissioners' Q&A, we'll invite the public if they would like to make comments. I'm curious, John, is it only 3 floors? And do you plan on expanding at all to other floors?
We haven't thought about that yet. One of the previous murals that's already up is staying. Heidi Shork's mural for the it's a wedding mural. So when people go up to the clerk's office to get married, that's staying or changing a little bit, I guess. So the other 3 floors, I would say, not sure about expanding at all. I don't know that. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, thank you.
But it's definitely something to think about.
With the 3rd mural, I just encourage you to speak with the artist if she's thinking about modifying it, about choices of color. The other 2 are so vibrant and will play well off of the grayness of the hallway that one is relatively monotone. So whether just considering what color she chooses for it or how she presents it in that space in particular.
Could you just remind us what floor each of the murals are assigned to?
They're going to be on 9, 8, and 7.
And which one is on which floor? Can you just sort of?
We haven't made that decision yet.
Okay.
Which floor? Maybe it'll be done by lottery or something. I'm not sure.
Well, since we usually meet on the 8th floor when we are in the building, is that why you're asking, Michael?
Well, I live on the 9th floor, so
Oh.
I have an interest as well. So.
I believe you asked that question last time, Michael.
I know. I'm getting in trouble.
Any other commissioners that would like to ask questions or make comments? Okay. Then I'd like to invite the public to have an opportunity to ask questions of John or to make comments on the lobby mural project. You can comment in a few different ways by Zoom. Please raise your hand via the Zoom meeting platform. If you are calling in, you can press *9 to raise your hand. Staff will put you in a digital line, and when it's your turn, they will announce your name. So if they call your name, please unmute yourself and make your comment or ask your questions. When you're not speaking, please keep yourself muted. And 2 minutes is what we like to employ as a timeline. Anyone in the waiting room, Patricia, for comments? No?
We don't have any raised hands and we don't have any chats at the moment.
Okay, awesome. All right, then we're going to move on to making a motion. Is there a commissioner who would like to make a motion to accept the preliminary designs as well as the final designs for the mural lobby project?
Was that Michael?
Yep.
Okay, Michael.
I'll second it, Michael.
We approve the 3 pieces as submitted. And I guess there was the 3rd piece that we saw that the final design of that be submitted to the commission for final review.
Do we have a second?
I'll
I second that.
Okay, I don't know who seconded that, but whoever's keeping
Camilo.
Camilo Alvarez and Bob Freeman.
Jointly.
All right, so let me call upon, when I call your name, say yay or nay. Camilo Alvarez,
Yes.
Mark Pasnick,
Yes.
Brian Hone,
Yes.
Bob Freeman,
Yes.
Michael, I'm assuming that's a yes for you.
Yes.
Cara, Elliot Ortega,
Yes.
and let's see, Lisa Tung,
Yes.
and I believe that is everyone. Did I leave anyone out?
John, yes.
John, thank you. So that's unanimous. That motion passes. Thank you all very much.
Great. Thank you, Ekwa. Next, we have Nancy and the Passage of Time, relocation. The artist Rick Lee, proponent MP Boston, will be presenting. So please take over.
Hi, I'm Hallie Thomas with MP Boston. I'm here with Anita Laricella with the Downtown Improvement District. We're here to talk about Tontine Crescent and the Nancy and the Passage of Time. We were here back in 2018. We relocated then into the Tontine Crescent Plaza. That was a temporary intervention, and now we're building the permanent. So I'm gonna just bring the presentation kind of goes back to the beginning so we can kind of see the evolution of where we are now. The next, am I controlling it? Okay. So Tontine Crescent is in the downtown financial district area. It's near Shoppers Park. It's on Franklin Street in between Arch Street and Holly Street. So it's just a location map. So this is Franklin Street. This is what it looked like back in 2016. So back then the transportation department asked Millennium as a part of mitigation for our, when we were building Millennium Tower, to study the street and what a design would look like to make Franklin Street into a single lane. You can see at the bottom of you can see there is an island in the middle of Franklin Street, and that's where the Nancy sculpture was at one point. So this is an image of the Nancy sculpture in that island in the middle of Franklin Street. You can see what it looked like. This is just another image of what the street condition was. It's a 3-lane down to a single lane. A part of after we created design, the Boston Transportation Department with I think other agencies at City Hall did a temporary pop-up in 2016 just to test what the new design could look like. And it was a very successful pop-up trial. And then after this, they asked Millennium to actually create this intervention. When we went to do this temporary project, we collaborated with a lot of the city agencies. It was really a partnership with Public Works, the BID, Boston Transportation Department. And there was one, Josh Whalen, as at the Boston Transportation Department, was really spearheading this project. And when we came here in 2018, he actually, I think, was a part of our presentation. He's since left the Transportation Department. But this is the temporary intervention that went through, over 2 public meetings. At this point, we had met with the Transportation Department, various agencies at the BPDA, Urban Design, Public Realm Planning. We actually did a number of tests and studies after we built this to make sure parking and all the circulation was actually working. I think went really well. So now we're here to talk about the permanent. So you can see the red dot at the south of the plan. That's where the Nancy sculpture currently is located. So this is the permanent strategy. It's essentially just putting that green space up at grade of the sidewalk. We will be building a new compliant sidewalk, and then the rest of the sidewalk will be pavers, and we'll have 2 street trees at the north side of the project, and then there'll be 4 built up planters. This is a street area, so there's a lot of utilities, and the only way to really get some green space was to build up planters. There's 3 small planters and then 1 large planter that's about 17 feet across, and that's where we're proposing that the Nancy sculpture will go. So this is an image of the large planter. You can see that there's seating on one side, and then it kind of goes down to no seating on the other side. When we were figuring out exactly where the sculpture would go, we met with Ron Juker and we incorporated all of his comments, and this is how we came up with the solution. That we will be putting a foundation in the planter. So it will be raised up. So we're gonna work on the exact elevation so all the sight lines of the sculpture can be seen. I think it was really important to the public that the sculpture, when you're walking down on the sidewalk, it could be seen. So that's what the last images we're showing. This is just an image of the foundation. This is some of our planting strategies. There will be one tree in each planter, and then around the sculpture, we're going to keep it very low with ground covering, but we're proposing more resilient type of plantings. And I guess that's it for the presentation. Happy to answer any questions. This project was on hold for about a year due to the circumstances, but we are hopeful that we can kick this off this spring so we can have it open for the summer. That is our goal.
Okay, great. Thank you for that presentation. I will open it up to commissioner comments and questions. I do have one to start with, which is, was it originally on paving and now it's being moved to a planted surface? And how do you see that in terms of the relationship with maintenance of a lawn or plantings around it and the potential danger for it to get damaged by equipment, and also buried if maintenance isn't, I'm assuming MP will do a very good job with maintenance, but is that who is maintaining it, or is it the city?
So the way that this is going, so this construction was actually a part of our mitigation for Winthrop Square. Millennium does not have any abutting properties, so we are working with the BID and the city. The BID will be maintaining a number of the items, and the city is maintaining specifically the planting. The BID is maintaining, and Anita can speak to kind of their maintenance of plantings around the downtown improvement area. But yes, to answer your question, it was on the ground before, and we are proposing to raise it up. Partly, we are citing it. It has a lot of sharp edges, and I think in conversations, we thought it was a little bit more accessible if it was raised up and set into the planter. And especially with, activating this plaza, it seemed like the appropriate siting, but open to ideas.
Yeah.
Other questions from commissioners? Or did somebody from the BID want to?
Yeah, I'd be glad to answer any specific maintenance questions, but we are working on an agreement with both MP, Boston, and the city around the maintenance of this area. We have been doing it during the temporary installation. We actually think that having it raised up makes it a little safer given the configuration of the street and traffic. So we like this design a lot for that reason.
I also just want to point out Anita and her group have gotten a lot of really great feedback with even the siting of it in the temporary, where when it was in the island, I think a lot of comments, the feedback we've gotten, people didn't notice it as much, and now people are actually noticing a lot more now that it's in the plaza and kind of more in the public area where people are gathering.
I see Lisa has a question.
Yes, thank you. It's sort of along the lines of your question, Mark, which is the sculpture looks kind of big. And I'm just curious, when you've cited it in the planter, can you tell me roughly how much space is around it? I mean, how much lawn is around it?
So it's not actually gonna be lawn, we're thinking more ground covering, but
sure.
it is a 17-foot planter.
Yeah.
And I believe I don't have the actual dimensions of the sculpture, but that the landscape designer who put this together said that was to scale.
Okay.
So,
and then you've also sort of addressed it. The sharp edges was something that, you know, looked like they were pretty sharp in the picture. On the planter, if people are sitting on the edges of the planter, which it looks like there's a lip and you can do that, there's no chance that, I don't know, they accidentally run into it or hit themselves or.
So the way it's designed is the planter has seating. I mean, I guess you could sit in the planter, but if you see on the left side, it's designed that there's actually seating built into part of the, like it's basically on the other side of where we're siting the sculpture.
Yeah.
So if someone sat in the planter, yes, but it's only about a 6-inch top at the narrow end. And then it gets wider, and then there's the seating area wrapped around the other side.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can see where it's still a concern where the ground is it going to be ground like an actual paver and then it meets the metal? Because I can see when trying to maintain the grass, the actual sculpture being damaged by the blades of whatever it is that's used to cut the grass, and vice versa. I guess the machine would also get hurt.
Yeah, it sits on a concrete slab. And we'll still do that within the bed. So it's raised up a bit. And it's actually not grass, it will be planting. So there's no mowing. There will be weeding and taking care of it, but it's a ground covering, not lawn that's gonna have a lawnmower.
Yeah.
And then the plaque with the artist's name, will that be nearby as well?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. I didn't mention that. So one thing in talking with Ron is we think it will be covered by the ground covering. So we have option A and option B where we don't think we can actually remove the plaque, but there's some older images. I think if you go back in the slides, if you can, that's okay. But yep. Oh, sorry, not that far. It's okay. So we want to actually duplicate the slide and put it on the ground in front of the statue. So one more forward. Yep. So you can see the little black in front of the sculpture. We think it'll be more legible there.
Yeah. So I have a question. Also, the tree will be there because in the diagram, there's no tree. So I just wanted to make sure there will be a tree next to it.
Yes, there will be as designed, there will be a tree.
Okay. And then skateboarders, any thoughts given to deterring skateboarders for using this?
Yeah, so they built in notches, like the typical skateboarding deterrent design. These are precast planners. So that's what's being built into the design so their wheels get stuck, which sounds kind of
sounds dangerous.
Brutal, but yeah, I think it's a pretty common detail on precast planners or precast in general.
And will there be any light, or how will the piece be lit?
That's a great question. So we did try to come up with a lighting strategy. What we ended up with, we don't have access to any buildings and power. So what Streetlights has let us do is put spotlights on the streetlights. And so we're gonna aim them down.
Thank you.
And so one last question for me, who's the landscape architect? And then also when you're saying ground cover, you're saying a fairly low planting sedum or something like that, that's very low and hugging to the ground. Okay.
So it's Ground is our landscape architect, Shauna Smith.
We know Shauna from previous work.
Yeah, so she's been helping us with that, and yeah, correct, ground cover, very more like a sedum type of.
And Ron was the original contributor of the piece to the city, is that? Okay.
Correct.
That's why he's been involved.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. Any other questions from commissioners?
I have one comment to make. It's such a beautiful sculpture. I was a little bit worried about the tree and any kind of bird droppings that might come off the tree onto the very shiny metal. It will be seen, and I don't know if you want to rethink the idea of the tree. The sculpture itself looks like it can just maintain its integrity without that tree.
We could definitely consider that. We were trying to get as many trees into this area as possible, but if a tree doesn't, we lose one, I think that's a fair concern.
Well, something to be considered.
Yeah.
Okay, hearing no other commissioner comments, I'll open it up to see if any members of the public would like to ask any questions. Okay, hearing none. I wonder if we can form a motion, and perhaps it can include Bob's question, maybe not a solution, but at least a concern about maintenance and other issues relative to the tree and to the plantings. Does anybody want to make a motion?
I can try. I move forward that we approve the preliminary siting of Nancy and the Passage of Time sculpture, and to also take into consideration commissioners' concern about possibly siting the piece by itself without a tree, and to also pay attention to the lighting and skateboarding.
Skateboarding and ground cover.
Correct.
Okay. Great. Tricia, did you get that all?
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Okay. So we have a second from, Aqua seconded it. Okay. So then I'll read off the roll call. Say yes if you agree with the motion. Aqua Holmes.
Yes.
Camilo Alvarez.
Yes.
Michael Canizzo.
Yes.
Cara Elliott Ortega.
Yes.
John Andres.
Yes.
Brian Hone.
Yes.
Lisa Tung.
Yes.
Robert Freeman.
Yes.
I'm a yes as well. So the motion passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next up is a presentation by Monica Bravo of the final design of Unus Mundus for the East Boston Police Station, District A7. Monica, welcome. You have 7 to 10 minutes to present, and we'll give you a reminder if time gets a little tight, but we're looking forward to hearing your presentation. So welcome, Monica.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I'm so happy to be here, and I'm super excited to show the final design. So we're going to go through. This is I think we're going to, Sarah, you're going to run through.
Yes, I'll just give a quick introduction to the site. Thank you, Monica. Thank you, commissioners. This commission is for the new District A7 police station in East Boston, located on East Eagle Street. The new facility will have a publicly accessible lobby and a large community room, providing a much needed public meeting location for the East Boston community. Our project partners are the Facilities Department, the Boston Police Department, the Office of Neighborhood Services, Lears Weinzefeld Architects, I apologize if I butchered that, and other designers and contractors on the project. And I'll just give a very quick introduction to Monica as well. The artist commissioned for this project is Monica Bravo. Monica is a multidisciplinary artist who currently resides in Miami Beach. Her work integrates a wide array of disciplines, from psychotechnologies to immersive sculptural environments. For the past few months, I've had the pleasure of working with Monica and our other project partners on this wonderful artwork. She's here tonight to present her final design to you. So Monica, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm just going to revise a little bit what the project is about. I'm basically going to integrate a lot of stuff that I've been doing. And one thing that is very important about this project is that the workshop was a very important part of the conception, not only conceptually, but like what informed the final shape of the work. So I worked together with the community to understand what was the needs that I needed to do to create this experience. For me, this is an experience about how we're feeling right now and how we have to make a difference between our thoughts and our emotions. So this piece is very emotional in the sense that it's going to remind people that they get in, that it's a very important moment in our lives to get back into our body so we can change the perspective. So you can go to the next one and I can show you what. I'm talking about. So I had the workshop. It was fun. It was done during the month of March. I believe there were 3 different days. And we had some people coming from the community of the police department as well, other people from the community, from the neighborhood. And it was amazing. I just was hands-on, showing the difference between emotions, perspective, and felt sense. I needed to really understand by talking to them what kind of people are embodying this area, so I could understand what were the needs that I needed to put out there, because there's going to be some words that are going to make the composition of the mobiles, these sculptures that are floating on the ceiling. So it was very important for me to choose the right wording, because these are pieces that are going to be there for a long time, hopefully. So they're going to be actually part of the embodiment of the building and the experience of being inside, both in the community area and more in the building for the police department. You can go to the next one. Thank you. So here, I think there's a video here with no sound, but I created these characters. It was a lot of fun to create, to be, I don't know, like very coherent to the shapes of what I'm gonna do with the shapes of what was happening in the workshop. And so I created these characters, and I was trying to, was conveying the understanding of what it is to be sovereign. What really does it mean to have agency? And that was the whole scope. And we worked on emotions, we worked on felt sense, and we worked as well on the perspective. So we can go to the next, because I want to show here some words. This is like, makes sense when you're in the workshop, but I think it was overall a very good idea. We ended up making a mobile, physical mobile, and with our hands, and I hope everybody enjoyed as much as I did, because I did. So, okay, let's go next. These are just slides from the workshop. I'm very interested in the diversity of the people that are part of the community, and what kind of service do they do, not only as in their profession, but also as a vocation. It's very important for me. I spoke a lot about the idea of what is a vocation. A vocation, it's a calling that we have. So obviously the people who are serving us in the community, they have a calling to do that. And that is a very important part of this piece. So we can keep on. Yeah, I'll get more images of the thing, but you can skip those. Okay, so here's again, right? So this is a reminder a little bit before that I'm very interested in transparency, materiality, language, and perception. We can go to the next one. Thank you. So here we're going to start seeing a little bit technical stuff in the mix. So those black lines, and what you see is like the ceiling as it was a few weeks ago in the construction. And I'm going to be hanging some elements, and they're going to be intertwining also with the mosaic and with the other elements of the building. So I'm very much aware of like the architecture and the scope of the building. So I want the work to actually be integrating every single aspect that the architects have been taking care of. So I hope it does. So let's go to the next. So here, very important for me here is to start talking about what is behind every image. So I want you to read the word that is next to it. And that's actually the word that abstract represented by the mobile. So I use the word, I use 5 words with 5 different mobiles. One of them is courage. That makes a lot of sense. You know, we talk about courage. Courage for me is very important because the police department has to have a lot of courage to do the work that they do. But also we in the community, when we are very close to our heart, we can be very happy and be doing what we're supposed to be doing. So this is a very important work that not only talks about the service that they do, but the service that we can have as human beings. Keep on with the next one. Thank you. Keep on, yeah. Here I'm showing you the elements of how these pieces are going to be made. They're layers of glass, and they're going to have some sort of texture that I've been taking from images that I've been photographing for months from the window of my house. So I want to have a texture that is, the glass going to have like a texture of a textile, because I'm talking a little bit about like the fabric of our reality, what are we made of? We're made of emotions, we're made of a body. And I want this piece to be very much related to all the layers of information that I use in my work in order to communicate. So they're gonna be, depending on the mobile, they're gonna be 4 to 6 different layers that are gonna be hanging from these lines, and they're gonna be held by a plate. I'm gonna show them, we can go to the next one. So this is the next word that I find very beautiful. It says serve, communion. Now, these are words made out of a font or a special font case that it was designed by Joseph Albers, the artist from the Bauhaus, and he ended up coming to America and living here his last years. He was also an incredible educator, and he created this font. And I've used this font in other previously works. And so I'm making a reference also to the history of art. I'm also making a reference to somebody who's an artist and also was very much interested in community. And he was also very much interested in education. These are things that I'm very interested as a person. So I'm making a very like historical and also artistic reference to something that he created that was also very functional. So these words, I mean, they're not exactly, you cannot really read them per se, but if you know that they say serve communion, then you start creating a relationship with that. We can go to the next. Keep on. This is just like how they are. Another word, very important, vocation and joy. This says vocation and joy. Again, very important because both of these words for me, they have an element of agency. Keep on. The next one. Okay, so here this word says, this is embodied perspective. I will say that these two words tap into the overall concept of the work, because what I'm trying to do here is in trying to create an awareness to our bodies and an awareness to that the only way that we can actually communicate with other beings is when we embody our own perspective and we understand that people have a different kind of perspective. And only if we move around, we can actually start perhaps seeing their own other point of view. And that's the best way that I would suggest, and it's all based on Jungian psychology, with the idea of the shadow and the light that I'm proposing here. We can keep on. The last word is, keep on. Dialogos, which is, it means to be able to have reason and to see through the reason of the other. So this is also a word that is going to be part of the mobiles. Okay, we can keep on. And so I'm going to start showing you like the technical part. Here you can see more or less where they're going to be placed. Keep on. Here's how they're going to be sort of like floating. I mean, they're going to be held from above the ceiling, and they're going to have a plate that is going to come down, and it's going to have all these wires that are mostly like rods, and they're going to be holding these pieces of glass that have the words. Keep on. You can go through the rest fast. There you go. Then we have the plate. This is a very technical pieces. We can see how we're going to, like the hardware that we're going to use in order to put them up there. It's very technical, but it's all feasible and can happen. And the bases are going to have a color because I want the base to be part of the piece. So everything is colorful and delightful and playful. That's a very important word for me for this piece. Keep on. Or go to the mosaic. Let's do more. One more. Okay, so here is the element of, I'm starting to put the element of the mosaic that is going to be on the wall. The mosaic will function as a visual shadow, using the concept of light and shadow to, because there are two important factors to gain sovereignty. In order to understand the difference between things, we have to know that there's always a contrast. So I'm using the concept also in the work. The shapes are making reference to like the pieces of the mobiles as if they were put apart and separated and put there. Keep on, please. Here you can see the blocks. There are going to be some blocks in order to, behind the wall. So we can actually place the mosaics that are going to be hanging from the wall. They're not going to be inserted. They're going to be coming out a little bit. The width, I think, is going to be less than 1 inch, but they're going to be coming out. Keep on. And this is the technical way how I apologize because my English and technology, like and technical, like how we call things, I have no idea how these things are going to, they're standoffs, that's what it is. So these are the standoffs we're going to be using for the, keep on. This is the community room as it could be seen. I mean, I didn't put all the elements there because sometimes it can be in the rendering, they can become too crowded, but they're pretty much, this is in the feeling of how it's going to be. Keep on. There's another view. Keep on. So here's the mosaic, and I want to, because I want to zoom into that. These are the shapes. Keep on. We have another one only of the mobiles, then one with the next one with all. Then skip the next one. and the last one, I want to see the last one. So you can see a little bit the detail. So these mosaics are going to be printed on ceramic, and they're going to be made out of glass with pieces, and parts of them are going to be able to be printed on ceramic. So here I've been looking for a lot of historical images that you are going to be they're not going to be printed super big, but you're going to be able to see them enough. And so there's a lot of reference to images, topographic, the islands, what was East Boston like before, how was the old building of the police department is going to be visible, the new building also I'm going to incorporate, so you see from like the old and the new. You can see also vistas from the air, from the area, so there's going to be some sort of recognition, and I would like the viewer to be able to be placed in the and have his own presence in the space from afar. And so yeah, they're going to be able, you're going to be able to see them. So that's going to be the fun part, trying to discover what you discover in there. And the last one, that's it. Okay, so yeah, the cleaning and the maintenance. I'm working with the mayor of Munich, and they're very professional. They do this all the time. So whatever instructions that they're giving to be able to be clean and to be, maintain, they're pretty easy. They're pretty easy. I mean, I have, we will provide all that. I don't think I should read all this, do I? Because I don't think I have time. 30 minutes. I think I'm done.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was wonderful. Happy to see the project come to this point of the final design, and I'd like to open up the floor for the BAC to make comments or ask questions of Monica. I'll start with one in terms of the cleaning. Are these pieces to be cleaned in place, or will they have to be removed for cleaning?
You're muted, Monica.
Yeah, here I am. No, they're going to be clean. They're going to be able to be cleaned in place. Yes, they're all in place, but they're going to be high enough so they cannot be destroyed by the touch. So they will have to be provided sort of a lift or something that they can be just dust off or something like that. They're made in materials that they're durable, and they can't break. I mean, if they break, I mean, they're laminated, so it's just like follow the instructions from the manufacturer, fabricator.
And is this something that you imagine that people that work at the police station will do, or will there be a contract for someone to come in and maintain this piece?
Well, I don't know if you have you have provided, or the police department has provided like a maintenance. I don't know how regularly they're going to do that. So it's something that can be discussed to see like how they're planning to do that.
Okay.
Because it's not in my thing. I mean, I'm provided to do the work. Okay. And then we can talk about like how would that be, like how often does that need? I don't know if the doors are going to be open all the time, so I don't know the amount of dust that is going to be lying there.
So that will fall to us. So that
yes.
will be upon the city. So we'll continue to work on that. We work with the artists for these recommendations. At this point, we'll look for a final maintenance plan when it's installed and we vote on whether to accept it. But we will be. That'll be in our charge, and Monica will be
thank you. Yeah.
Certainly consulted if necessary if we have any questions.
Sure. I see Commissioner Hohn's hand raised.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Monica. That's really exciting to see this project. I love the stories behind the artwork and the actual kind of physical forms of the works too. So just thinking about if there's been any kind of consideration to how visitors will start to kind of read the objects and make sense of the stories that kind of also accompany the objects. I love the abstracted words, and it would be really cool if, visitors could, read some signage or interpretation about those actual works of art that are on view. Just curious if that's kind of been a part of the conversation so far.
Oh, I love that question. Thank you for asking, because it's always, once I leave, but the work stays. And if there's going to be, I don't know, a page from the city or even the police department where they can talk about the work, and I can create a very small blurb with the story of it. So when people are interested, you know, because sometimes you tell the story, like if somebody in the building knows the story, tells us, and that's how stories get told by our ancestors, it can be good. And that's why I was so happy that some of the people from the police department attended, so they can tell the stories to somebody else because they were part of the process. So yes, very important. So it can be, I mean, I don't think that in the plaque can be done, but there could be another place, and it's so easy to just point that, probably make some sort of in the plate. I think that we will have to make a plate or something, put a place where people can actually go and get the information. Yes, digitally, very easy to be done. But thank you for asking, great question.
I think just to add to that, you know, as we've been doing everything digitally, it's been raising some interesting questions about, you know, how much we'll have archived from all of these processes, and like that we have all of the community meetings and everything recorded. So it might be interesting to think about, like, is there kind of an overview video of the work and of what's gone into it, and that helps people just get a sense of what it is, that can show some of these things, like revealing, you know, the words that are in the mobiles, that we could figure out how people get access to that on site. But we just have so much, there's so much material from recording all of these things. So it could be interesting to do that.
I could very much create something that is like short but concise, and is very meaningful, and picking up what is really important and salient to this, so people can actually understand. If the curiosity arises for people, they can go and they will get even more layers than what the work itself can provide. Yes. So I'm willing to do that and pass it on to the city, so they can put it up there in a public place or in my website. You know, I think it's something that we can talk about, and it's totally feasible, and I love doing that. So I'll engage with that. Yes.
Gracias, Monica. I mean, I think that's actually another form of how in your work there is transparency and reflection. I even think the community program that you held, that can actually also, this video for the community room, this sort of didactic that Brian and everybody seeks, can be part of the community room. It can be a binder, it can be a video that lives there, and your piece becomes the first conversation that people start having, as in to use this community room. Considering the tense relationship between the community and policing, I think it's very, very relevant. One concern I had was, will you think about the imagery involved in the actual works, the mosaics and the glass components from the community, not just in the history of policing or of that building, but of the actual community and the current community that lives there now?
Yes, absolutely. I didn't show them here, but there's a whole array of images that come from what it is, the community of East Boston, you know, on just from the landscape and the topography. That is the first thing that we get an impression when we go to a place, to like more like stories or even elements of the history that they can be salient and they can be reminded. If you don't know, you can find out, or you can connect to that. But yes, I mean, because it is in the police department, like the placement is there, I have to underline that. But that doesn't mean that it's only about that, especially because we're gonna have the community room. And yes, I really love that idea. I mean, at one point I would love even to like suggest, like if they want to hold another community, like a community workshop, I would love to do it like once it is installed. I will die to do it. Like I will do it on my time, to have people really engage and have a sort of understanding that the tools are out there. I'm just the vessel of those tools. I didn't create them, I just put them together. So yes, love that.
Great.
Gracias.
You're welcome.
Other thoughts? I feel like the colors that you used in your design are so compelling that even if you had no interest at all, you would walk across the street to see what is going on in there. And I'm also wondering about, you know, maybe a poster that gets distributed or something like that, that people have a takeaway that they can take home some of the emotion and the attributes that you are pointing to with this project. Any other commissioners have comments or suggestions or questions before we go on to opening up to the public?
actually had just one more question about lighting. I think this is going to be viewable from outside the building as well. So just thinking about in like evening hours and whatnot, you know, to me, it would be very appealing if this piece was really well lit and almost kind of glowing from the outside looking into the station. Has that lighting consideration come up for this piece yet?
We'll have Jim or Josh talk about it. I think we've spoken a little bit about it, about the quality of the light of the building. It's almost like a light box, but I want the architects to come in because yes, we've been speaking about it and it will be beautiful to kind of have a like a dance together, but I will let one of the architects, if you may.
Hi, I can just say a few words. I'm Jim Vogel. The ceiling has a fairly even, we have LED lighting in strips, pretty evenly distributed across the entire lobby and the community room. And so Monica didn't really wish to have like spotlights on the pieces of work. So we haven't highlighted them so much as just given an even lighting to everything. Right, Monica? I mean,
Yes. Because when you use spotlight, that's what it does. It spots lighted, and then the whole magic of this thing is that this thing kind of lives around. And yes, during the night we will have to think about like how these lights are going to affect. But you know, night is night and day is day. During the day, it's a light box. It's just like really, you know, even if it's a day that it has no real sun, even that is going to be like having light around. But my work doesn't like spotlight. It just goes like, ooh, like I don't want that. So I listen to the work. It's like, so we do what the work wants.
and there is a lot of glass. There is a lot of glass in this lobby and the community room. We do have baffles on some of it on the outside to diffuse so that there isn't so much direct sunlight coming in. But there will be a lot of light.
Yeah. Also, the thing is that the glass is going to have some sort of transparency in it. I mean, here you don't see it, but I made, what we're doing with the glass is that we're using color glass, and some of them is going to have some like texture that is going to be done with the use of float glass. But the most important is that the layer that we need to put technically to have the glass be safe for an environment like this, we're going to print a texture. So, but we want to keep the transparency of it. So that's what we're working on right now. Like the thin, it's just almost like all these images are coming from textiles that I have done, and I print them and they put them against the light, and then just taking images of the folds of the light.
Bravo.
Yes. Oh, so yeah, so that's the whole thing. I want it to be very tactile. That's the whole idea, like almost like candy.
Okay, well, if anyone has any last minute thoughts before we move on to public comment, please.
I have one. Can we go back to one of the floor plans or the site plans so we can sort of understand where the lobbies are and how it's orientated on the site? Because I think we had asked that question last time. I think this is a beautiful pieces, and I just want to get a sense of where one would see this from the street. So
maybe I should chime in.
The site plans or either Monica or Jim can sort of.
Or Josiah, I think you want to.
I'm sorry, I had to join late. So I haven't even seen these images, but I know what's going on. So the public zone, which is the entry lobby and the community room, faces a playing field, and it goes up a hill. So this can be seen from a long way away. It's got light to the right. In the image, it's got light on 3 of the 4 sides. So it'll be coming in and seen from, 270 degrees of public vision.
Be possible to go to the, I think you had an aerial view of the site.
It's the first slide, I think.
Right.
On page 62, or slide 62.
There, oops. Go back.
No, I think he's looking for the site. It's earlier.
At the very beginning. So it's the
Yeah,
first one, I think.
62.
After my picture.
Back one more or two more.
Yeah. Yes, that one.
Yeah, so you see the rectangle there. To the left side is the community zone. So it's got two public streets at the entry and Condor Street. So that, and there's the playing field to the left of that, and that goes up a hill to a public school. So that is very apparent. And as you go to the right down East Eagle Street, it gets more police business oriented. So there are less windows and much more private. But that zone here, which is essentially the cleared area to the left of that, is a lot of glass, as you can see on the image to the left.
So the image on the left, the doors are facing up towards the creek or right towards the...
The entry doors are on the bottom of that rectangle, the bottom left.
Okay,
and
facing
then it,
the neighborhood.
Yeah, so the image that she posted and the site plan are in the same orientation. So if you come into the door, it's in the bottom of the bottom left corner. And that's, once you've entered in, you see through the glass wall that goes into the community room, and the far glass is the outside wall that faces Chelsea Creek.
Okay.
So in this image to the left part is looks out to the ball field.
Okay.
In this left image, you're in the lobby looking through the glass into the community room. And you've just come in the front door, basically.
Right, because I'm a little concerned because we know that there's a potential site for the substation right next to it. So I just want to understand the unfortunate relationship between this and the substation. So
that is true. The site for the substation is to the upper part of that red rectangle.
So it would be potentially adjacent to the community room, right?
It would be visible from the community room very much. You won't see Chelsea Creek anymore.
Okay.
It's about 100 feet away, I think.
Yeah, I'd draw it if they, usually these things have annotate numbers, but it's really sort of where, you see where the blue courts are across the street from there is generally the area, more or less.
All right, now this helps me orientate myself on the site within the building, so thanks.
All right, I'd like to open it up to the public. If anyone has a question, concern, or comment, please raise your hand. Okay. Patricia, anyone lined up?
We have no raised hands, and I'm not seeing anything in the chat.
Okay. Then I'd like to know if anyone would like to present a motion on the final design for the East Boston Police Station. I want to get the name right.
I can make a motion that I move that we approve for final design Unus Mundus by Monica Bravo for the East Boston Police Station with encouragement that the artist and the architects consider the piece's interpretation and lighting in the space further.
I'll second.
Awesome. Okay. I'm going to do a roll call for all the commissioners, yay or nay. Mark, you made the motion, but...
I'm a yes.
Camilo Alvarez.
Yes.
Cara Elliott Ortega.
Yes.
Brian Hone.
Yes.
Michael Paniza.
Yes.
Lisa Tung.
Yes.
Bob Freeman.
Yes.
John Andres.
Yes.
And I'm also a yes. So that the motion passes unanimously. And thank you, Monica, for your presentation and your beautiful work.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy, and I can't wait to be able to fly there and be part of it for a second or two. Thank you.
That would be great. All right.
Okay, next up we have the Edward O. Gordin and African American Veterans Memorial final design process. And I just want to, before I turn it over to Karen, just welcome everybody who's here in relationship to this project. I know it's been an intense effort by the community over many years to develop the project to this point, and also from the artists community, the artist representatives and the artist herself, as well as Parks Department to get us to this place where I think we have a wonderful design that I'm excited to see the final presentation on. So Karen, do you want to take it over?
Thanks, Mark. The Justice O. Gordin and African American Veterans Memorial Project was initially conceived by the late Ralph Brown in the 1990s. In the early years of the past decade, the veterans and friends of the Gordin Memorial Park commissioned the late artist Fern Cunningham Terry and artist Karen Udemy to create the portrait of Justice Gordin and the bas-reliefs representing African American veterans. The project site is in Nubian Square, Roxbury, on the map that you see here on the right. The park is circled in a blue ring. Notably, this map shows a section of the Roxbury Cultural District. Gordin Memorial Park is in a central and prominent location in Nubian Square, adjacent to the recently renovated Roxbury branch of the Boston Public Library and close to the courthouse where Justice Gordin served. Final design phase 1, the portrait of Justice Gordin, which you see here on the left, was approved by this commission in March 2020. You can see that as it was approved. So we will not be reviewing that today as a reminder since it was already done. Tonight, the commission is reviewing final design phase 2, the 10 bas-reliefs representing African American veterans from conflicts throughout US history and associated texts. You will see all the artworks, including the portrait of Justice Gordin, within the context of the landscape designed by Martha Lyon Landscape Architects, which is being led by the Department of Parks and Recreation under the direction of Liza Meyer, Chief Landscape Architect, and the leadership of Commissioner Ryan Woods. I will now introduce Bruce Bickerstaff, the president of the Veterans and Friends of Gordin Memorial Park, to introduce us to the artist and further into the project.
Good afternoon, everyone. Bruce Bickerstaff, Chair of the Veterans and Friends of Gordin Park. I first want to thank the board of the Boston Arts Commission, and as well appreciate the fact that we are in our final phases of, hopefully, of design, and look forward to moving the project on. And it, fortunately, as well, I want to thank the Brown family, Ralph Brown and his family, for pushing this project through. It has been, as before stated, a long process, but we are finally getting to the end of this first phase. Again, I want to thank the Boston Architectural Commission staff and the commissioners for the opportunity to present what we are looking for as to the final design of the process. I am not going to spend a lot of time. I'm going to give kind of a quick overview of who we are as Veterans and Friends. The Veterans and Friends of Gordin Park is a community-based collaborative of military veterans and friends, and that are planning and organizing financial solutions, strategies to the erection of the Edward O. Gordin statue. I will leave it at that and pass it over to the meat of the proposition here, to Martha Lyons. Oh, I'm sorry, I would be remiss. I want to thank both Karen, who is representing Fern Cunningham Terry, the artist who began this project, and Karen is bringing it to, Karen Udemy is bringing it to its final completion, and as well Jeff, and forgive me Jeff if I mispronounce your last name, Yako. And so I want to be brief because we have a long way to go, and introduce Martha Lyon, who will be giving you an overview of the park, the statuary, and beyond. Martha, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you,
Okay.
Bruce. Thank you. And good afternoon, commissioners. I'm pleased to be here to talk about this project that, yes, has been in development for quite a while. My job in this presentation is to simply orient you to the setting that we are providing for the work that has been designed by both Fern and Karen. So I'll go through this quickly and try to give more time to Karen to talk about her work. Just as an overview of the park, as you saw in the original slide, this is located in Nubian Square. Just so you're oriented here, on the right is Malcolm X Boulevard, on the left is Washington Street, and on the top is Shawmut Avenue Extension, and Dudley Street comes in right at the top of the park. The process of developing in this, we are really taking what is now kind of a pass-through, very functional space, and really making it into something that is much more engaging, intimate, a place for people to gather, and a place for quiet commemoration. Next slide, please. The design of this park is reflecting kind of an abstract star based on the 5 branches of the military, and we've designed not only like a large gathering space, but also several smaller spaces so different types of activities can take place. Next slide. And throughout the park, almost anywhere you go, you'll have some sort of view of the main Gordin sculpture, which is seen here in the center, as well as the 10 bas-relief sculptures that are lined up behind Gordin on granite plinths. Next slide, please. And these are just some more images of views. This is taken from the southwest side, from one of the small gathering spaces looking at the Gordin sculpture. Next slide, please. A little bit closer up. Next slide, please. These are some of the materials that we're going to be using. In the sort of center lower is the Rocky Mountain Rose granite that is going to be used for the Gordin base. That is a pinkish cast to it to tone the rest of the park down so that would be prominent. We're using a contrasting granite for the bas-relief blocks and for the entry marker, which you'll see in a minute. And then of course the park curbing, which will be just a very quiet Woodbury gray. And the plaza pavement is going to be an exposed aggregate, a little bit darker color here. Next slide, please. This is the entry marker, which has been reviewed, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the staff is going to be approving the final wording of this. Next slide, please. And I have to credit the veterans and friends for helping us put this together, not only gather the images, but also construct the text. And we worked with graphic designer Mike Hankey of Design Division on these. Next. This image is quite light, I realize, but what it does show you is the rhythm of the bas-reliefs. They'll be, again, placed on an angled plinth, each one of them, each one representing a different war. The war will be identified below the bas-relief with the dates of the war. Next, please. And this gives you a little bit closer up. On the seat wall, which is connecting the bas-reliefs, we are going to be inscribing the first verse of the African American National Anthem. And you can see the beginning of it here. Next slide. This image shows where the the individual phrases from the anthem are placed. They are on the inverted part of the seat wall, beginning on the left side and then wrapping around to the right side. So there are 8 different segments of seat wall. Next. And then just the sculpture, the Gordin sculpture, you can see the size of it in relationship to a human figure. And there are going to be simple words placed on 3 of the sides, and then a plaque honoring the donors on the 4th. Next slide. Just a little bit of information about the bas-relief plinths or blocks. We worked very hard to get the proportions of these just right. This is a very small park. It's only a half acre in size. And we wanted to make these accessible to users of all different sizes and shapes, and those who may be in a wheelchair or young children. So we brought them down as low as we felt possible so they would be safe, and placed them at an angle, a quite steep angle, so that they would be easily read. And just in case you're asking, the back side of these blocks are 54 inches high, and the front are 32. The vertical front face is 32. The seat wall is 18 inches high. Next. And I think I should, at this point, turn it over to Karen, who will talk about the bas-reliefs themselves. Karen, you're muted. Yeah.
Thank you, Martha. Hello, commissioners and the public. I'm really glad to be able to bring this project before you for final approval. This particular drawing is just to give a sense of what it would be like if you walked up to one of these reliefs, and you'd be able to look at it. You'd see it coming from a distance, but you'd also be able to come up close to it. I would like to first share the narrative for the relief portion of the Gordin sculpture installation. The 10 bronze reliefs collectively symbolize the strength, drive, and dignity of all our African-American veterans. These images are a testament to the commitment and sacrifice that our veterans demonstrated in supporting and protecting the people of our nation throughout its history. In considering an appropriate way to recognize Black veterans, there was a necessity to include all who served. Many who volunteered were prevented from becoming soldiers. They served in auxiliary positions. All were valuable to the war effort. In many cases, the records of Black recruits were not even kept. Because of this, they will never be individually honored or even remembered. It was deemed most effective to use the images of individual veterans, not as portraits, but as general representations of the great numbers of African Americans who served in the United States military. In each of the reliefs, the individual's uniform, hat, or helmet references the particular war involvement. Most of the bas-relief sculptures are renderings of actual veterans. A few are local veterans. The rest represent veterans who were involved in wars throughout United States history. My desire is to tell at least a fraction of each person's story by accurately capturing the individual's facial expressions. Images were gathered through research done online from photographs I used while working were generally very small and of poor quality. So when they were enlarged, the details were often lost. It was at these times when I connected most with my subjects, as I could no longer rely on an external image. I began to sculpt the spirit of the person through my physical contact with the clay and my imaginings about what their lives encompass. Okay, you can go to the next slide. So this first slide is a Buffalo soldier who is representing the Indian Wars and the Spanish-American War. And you can see the dates under these. The relief on the right is representing the American Revolutionary War. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. On the left is a representation for World War I. On the right is the World War II relief. Next slide, please. On the left is the Korean War representative. And on the right is the Vietnam War relief. Next slide, please. The left-hand relief is a representation for the Gulf War and the Desert Shield, Operation Desert Storm wars. On the right is a representation of the Iraq War soldier. I believe that's the last one. Yes. Thank you for letting me share.
Okay, is that the last comments from the proponents?
Yes.
Okay, great. Sorry, I just saw 2 more slides, so I wasn't sure. But thank you. That was a beautiful story. And I know it's been a long process and we're excited to have it here. I just want to, before we start with commissioner comments and questions, just want to say how remarkable the newest ones are in the collection that we haven't seen before. They're really, really powerful. I love, love, love the World War I figure in particular. Just that sort of sculptural quality is really spectacular. So thank you, Karen, for presenting these and bringing them before us.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'll open it up for comments from commissioners, comments, questions, and conversation.
I'd like to just add a comment, echoing what you just said about how powerful these reliefs are. I know Karen worked very, very hard on making them very three-dimensional as she could. And wow, I just wanted to say, Karen, you've done a magnificent job. And thank you for all the patience that you showed while producing these.
Thank you so much, Bob. Appreciate it.
Other questions, comments from commissioners?
Well, I'm going to ask the question that I hope I don't have to ask, but can this, I hope we don't have any more wars. And was there thought given to, if there are future wars, can this memorial be, or park can be expanded, I guess? I mean, can there be other pieces added to mark any future wars that we may unfortunately be involved in?
If that was something that was brought up, but these are representing the past and what has happened till now. I don't expect there to be anything added, and I just, God willing, we won't have more wars. But up until now, there has been no sense of really recognizing African-American veterans. So it's kind of trying to cover a lot of space in a short amount of time. You know, trying to make this represent everyone. It's kind of hard, and we hope it won't go into the future, but I believe that it says enough that it would cover the veterans going into the future, and hopefully things wouldn't be so segregated from now on. I know that's a wish more than a reality.
I see, Bruce, you've raised your hand. Did you want to make a comment in response to that?
Yes, yes, briefly. And it's at some point, we hope that this edifice will just, again, draw the appreciation of all veterans. Going forward, as it's been mentioned, we hope that we don't have to add anything more, but we will always be open because art is partly part history and part just the appreciation. But that's, I think, the locus and the focus of our rendering is that we have appreciate from what we know as the past and the underappreciation of the African American as it relates to the defense of this country. And that's really the focus at this present time. And again, I hope that for my children and grandchildren's sake, that we will not be, the next plaque to be raised will be one to appreciate world peace.
Great.
If
I love
that's
that.
a reality.
Thank you for that. I hope you're right. Other commissioner comments or questions?
I'll just make a comment about, I really love the accessibility of the pieces in the park. The bas reliefs are separated with seating area so people can feel that they're in between these characters that are representing veterans. The bas reliefs are very touchable, which, you know, that's what people do with public art. And those faces are very accessible for people to touch and really, really engage with and look at. And then I feel that the Lift Every Voice and Sing, which I know was Fern's wish to have that incorporated, is such a cultural tradition among the African American community at all events of great importance. That to have that written down and etched into stone, I think is another wonderful accessible point of this, this park design. And so I just want to congratulate all of you. It has been a long road, but I feel like the city of Boston and particularly the communities of Roxbury and Dorchester, Mattapan are going to be very, very proud when this project comes to completion. So I just want to thank you all for that.
Other commissioners? I do have one very, very tiny, it's actually really tiny request, and it's probably of Martha's realm, which is, you know, I'm a editor, so I watch these things very carefully, but I would like you to replace the hyphens between the dates with an N dash. Slightly wider, more elegant, more honorific way of separating two dates from one another in standard typography. So I would just encourage that change will bring a little bit a higher level of elegance to the dates of the memorial.
No problem.
So, very small, but let me know if you have any questions on that. I'm happy to help there.
Okay.
I don't know if this is the right time to ask, but what is the plan for additional educational opportunities from the park? Will there be a website? I believe I heard something about that in the future, but maybe some of the folks that are here from the public might want to hear a little bit about that.
I know the Veterans and Friends are working on a website. I know they want to plan a way that students could be involved in maybe tours or with their classes coming to the park for the educational value. But people would be able to research by going to the website.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen.
All right, if there's no other commissioner comments, I'd like to open it up to the public. I know there's many members of the public who are also members of the Friends group who've been working very hard for many years on this. And so maybe some of them would like to say something or other members of the public who'd like to comment. I see a hand raised from Jumada Smith.
Yes, yes, thank you. Quickly, one of the commissioners asked a good question about space for the future. That was a great question, and I really like the answers also that were given by Karen, the artist, and Bruce, and you know, if there will be another war, I imagine what we could do is just have a part 2 somewhere, you know, somewhere in Boston. But I like the idea that there really won't be a need to have to accentuate and perpetuate historical pieces, because this will be a good message and that's the whole idea, not only for the city of Boston, not only for the Commonwealth, but for the country and the world, for people to come in and to be mindful of the fact that we didn't get things in the history books and so forth. And so this would be, to me, I call it an outside museum. The other piece I wanted to say, I've been on board with this for many, many years myself, and I am so elated about the spirit of all of those who were here before and didn't get a chance to see this, but they believed that it was going to take place. And so I just like the fragrance of the spirit of what has been going on, and those who are still here now is remarkable. So I just want to thank everyone that from the Boston Arts Commission working with us, for Plaques, and for all of the city, for the commissioners, and of course, the veterans and friends, my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Jamada. And I love this phrase, outside museum. I'm gonna steal that from you if you don't mind. That's a great phrase. Other members of the public. I see Randall Tatum has his hand raised. Randall?
Good evening. I would just like to comment and thank everyone for their involvement in this project. The staff, the commissioners, and everyone, and the Martha Lyons and the whole design team. I think there will be a lot of public support for this project, especially when it's done. The sight lines will be very good as they stand out in the public. It's a tribute to all our veterans, and it will be beautiful too. They have the bronze plaque sitting on granite. The sight lines will be very nice, and with the Negro National Anthem, Lift Every Voice, that will send a strong message. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Are there other, if you want to make a comment, please feel free to raise your hand at this time using the Zoom tool.
I think Rochelle Brown would like to make a comment. She's had it.
Oh, Rochelle Brown? Yes, please unmute yourself, Rochelle.
Good afternoon. First, I want to just disclose that I am speaking in my own personal capacity and not on behalf of Veterans and Friends or any of its officers or members. And I realize also that, as Frederick Douglass has observed, that no one monument could be made to tell the whole truth of any subject which it may be designed to illustrate. So in this regard, though, I would like to address the issue of the size of the bas-reliefs. In my personal opinion, the bas-reliefs should not be reduced from their existing width of 21 inches in width and 24 inches in height, with the highest being 29. Those dimensions are in fact the dimensions that were presented to the commission at its March 20th, 2020 meeting. Those dimensions are in fact the ones that were used by the landscape architect to design her park improvement plans. Those dimensions are in fact the ones that were used to complete 8 of the 10 bas reliefs that were available in November 2020, and for which the Brown Trust had made full payment, including for the bronzing once the commission had approved the final design. It may not seem significant, but the decrease in the width and the height has symbolic meaning. You're not just reducing clay, but in my view, you may well be reducing the experience, the history, and the contributions of those African American men and women we are honoring. The design is beautiful. I like the dimensionality of some of the headpieces going beyond the front lines. But I want to also make sure that the views and intent of the members of the public that went to those early meetings in 2015 and 2016 are adhered to. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Rochelle, for your comments and for your concern about the project and for following this project for so long and being such an important voice in it. Next up, we have Legacy.
Chantal Charles.
Oh, sorry, Chantal is next. Okay.
Sorry about Legacy Septum. It's the company that I'm using.
Ah, okay, sorry.
Sorry about that. I just wanted to say that the Veterans and Friends group have been working, planning, anticipating for this great day. This is a really good day for us because this project has been going on for many, many years. I've started working with Fern when we were doing the design development process. So I just want to say thank you to the commissioners for reviewing this project and for giving us a final approval so that we can move forward into fabrication and installation of this artwork, because this is very important for the city of Boston, for the community, and for the entire state of Massachusetts. We are working on an educational component because we really want to make this park an outdoor classroom where students throughout the area can come in, because there are several schools in the area. I believe there are about 5 different schools between 5 minutes from each other. So this is a place where our children, our grandchildren can go in there and learn about the history of African-American veterans and talk about a future. So thank you so much. And we are really looking forward to have a great celebration, a great unveiling ceremony, hopefully very soon, sometimes next year. Thank you.
Thank you, Chantal, and apologies for my mistake earlier. I should have recognized you, but I only saw the one name. Are there any other comments from community members?
Yeah, can I make a comment?
Sure, of course.
My name is Haywood Fennell, and I'm a veteran. And you have no idea what this project means to me as a veteran. As an African-American veteran who comes from a family of veterans. I want to first thank Bill Venter, who's no longer with us, who walked with me, and we walked together to go to Harvard Law School and get some assistance from Professor Brian Price, to get this 501c3 off the ground. All through this process, there's been a lot of emotional turmoil. And that happens sometimes when you're dealing with different people. I'm not ashamed to say that sometimes I might have seemed obstinate in my views, because that's the way I am. But when we sat down and talked about the size of this great monument, that people that are no longer here, like Brother Ralph Francis Brown, one of the originators for this project, we talked about dimensions And now we are at a place where the dimensions have been changed. Nobody said one word about that. And maybe nobody will say anything, but I'm saying something. I'm saying that the process was tainted when the change came about. And everybody knows that we've been dealing with this for quite some time, so you want to get it over with. But that's not the way you should have done this. I think that everybody should have been at the table when decisions were made, like the decision that you may make today. I work very hard in my community, and I advocate very strongly for veterans. And this opportunity to showcase what has been forgotten, we talked about schools and getting the schools involved, and it became like weaving a quilt. But you didn't know how to close the corners off right, because you made a decision to change the dimensions without telling us until the last minute when we could not go any further.
Thank you.
And for that, I just want to express not my sorrow, but what will you do next? What will you do next? Nobody mentioned from the commission about the change in the dimensions. Nobody said anything. And I just thought that I should say something. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for sharing that concern. We still have a few more minutes if there's other people who would like to make comments as well. Okay, hearing no other, or seeing no other hands. Karen, do you see any other hands?
No, I don't.
Okay. So now we should move to deliberations from the commission. Are there any comments before we move to a discussion of a motion? Hearing no comments, would any commissioner like to propose a motion? I should mention that, keep in mind, we're talking about, we have already approved the main Gordin sculpture, and I think that the entry marker is outside our domain and being handled already by staff. So this is essentially about the bas-reliefs and the wall with the anthem.
Well, Mark, I want to ask the question since it was brought up a couple of times. Could someone remind me, when there was a discussion about the plaque sizes? I don't recall that discussion, and I'm curious why the public is making some comments about the plaque sizes.
Karen, would you like to address that?
Yes. It's actually a standardization of the plaques because they are very deep relief, and we wanted to make them show up in the best light together. So some of them are much deeper than others, and this will basically be dealing with the depth, but it also reduces the size some so that they look good on their bases.
They were proposed for a larger size at some point. I'm just trying to understand what the comments were about. So
this was back at a meeting at November 4th where we discussed this and decided that they needed to be standardized.
Okay.
I think people are more concentrating on the size, as bigger is better, but it will look better on those bases and it will be more uniform and it will be more beautiful.
Just a 3D dimensionality of the plaques, I think they're going to be wonderful. And Yeah, I think it's important that they have the proportion to work within the blocks that you guys have designed. So, okay, thank you for helping me understand that.
Sure.
Where the comments were coming from.
Okay, thank you for your question.
Thank you, Karen. Any other comments from commissioners or questions? Is there somebody who would like to propose a motion? Because if not, I could probably begin one.
I guess I can try, Mark.
Okay.
I make a motion that we approve the bas reliefs and the design of the park, the final pieces of the Gordin Memorial Park that was presented to us tonight.
Okay, I think that's good. I would just add the word joyous in there somewhere. Joyously approve, if we wouldn't mind.
Enthusiastically approve?
Enthusiastically, that's a good word.
I joyously second that.
So we have a motion and a second. I will read off the commissioner's name. Aqua Holmes.
Joyously, yes.
Camilo Alvarez.
Enthusiastically, yes.
Michael Canizzo.
Enthusiastically, yes.
Cara Elliott Ortega.
With a huge thank you to everyone who's been working on this for so many years. Yes.
John Andres.
Joyously, yes.
Brian Hone.
With congratulations, yes.
Lisa Tung.
Ecstatically, yes.
Robert Freeman.
I'll just say yes.
And I am also a very enthusiastic yes. So the motion passes with joy and enthusiasm. Very excited to see this someday in our future. This outdoor museum and this outdoor classroom and this place that I think people will go to learn a history that has not been told in our city in sufficient a way. And so really thank you to everybody who's made this happen, from the artists to the Friends group to Parks, to all the community members who've been a part of this. We're overjoyed to have you make our city a better place. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yay.
Thank you.
I'm so excited.
I just wanted to just give a moment for Fern Cunningham Terry, who was there at the beginning of this project and helped to envision it, and feel especially heartful that a lot of her vision has been realized to this point, and that we honor her by the way we move forward from this positive vote. So thanks to everyone who's a part of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we have one last item of business, which is a motion for adjournment. Do I hear such a motion?
I'll make a motion for joyously adjourning from this wonderful meeting.
Thank you, Aqua. Do I have an enthusiastic second?
Seconded.
All right, all those in favor? Aqua? Aqua? Camilo?
Yes.
Michael?
Yes.
Cara?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Robert?
Yes.
And I am also a yes. So the motion passes. We are officially adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mark.
What
Have
a
a fine
great
evening.
meeting of so much good art.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank everyone.
Thank you.
This will be a credit to the community.
Absolutely.
Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good evening.
Bye.
Night, everybody.
Bye.